Up next, the ghosts of the tall ship USS Constellation. The USS Constellation, with its rich history dating back to the Civil War, is a major tourist attraction in Baltimore, Maryland. That history also makes it a candidate for ghost activity. There have been many sightings over the years of ghostly crew members who can't or won't leave the ship.
I'm a history buff, and I can't resist taking a tour of a tall ship. There wasn't one scheduled for a while, so I decided I'd wander around on my own, and I got down below decks pretty deep. I saw this boy, and he had a gash on his face. I thought maybe he was lost or needed help. I tried to get to him. I hollered at him, "Hey, little boy, are you all right?" But he slipped through the shadows of the hammocks. "Hey, little boy." I tried to get close to him, and then I noticed he was wearing an old-fashioned costume or uniform of some kind. And tried to get his attention. He disappeared. I mean, he was there, and then he was gone. I didn't know what to think. I mean, there was no trace of him. I looked everywhere, and I thought maybe I was losing my mind. But I know what I saw, and I saw that boy.
Life in the Navy in the era of the tall ships was a brutal affair. The USS Constellation has had its share of sadistic captains, callous crew, and horrible murders. It's said that many of these souls still walk the decks, some tied by their awful murders, others by their devotion to duty.
Vince Wilson and his team of researchers from the Baltimore Society for Paranormal Research have come to investigate the reported ghost sightings on board. They've brought with them some sophisticated equipment that will allow them to record sounds, images, and temperature remotely to eliminate the possibility of human interference in the recording. They plan to focus their hunt on the areas of the ship where most of the sightings have happened.
Tonight we are going to investigate these stories, rumors.
Over the years, there have been many reports of past sailors still being on deck. Even crew from the previous Constellation are reported to haunt this one. The team will be using video and audio technology to record the presence of paranormal activity. They set up a command headquarters on the mid-deck of the Constellation.
It happened here on the Constellation. I was down below and this man approached me. He was wearing a 19th century seaman's uniform. He said he'd be delighted to show me around. I said, sure. I thought he was a tour guide because of his extensive knowledge of the technical details of the ship. Just the kind of stuff I like. We had a great time together. When it was over, I thanked him and went topside. On the way out, I stopped by the tour guide to thank him for the excellent tour. And he said, tour? What tour? We don't have any tours going on right now. So we went down below. There was no one there.
Vince Wilson and his crew will take a different approach on this investigation. They will be using a RoboCam, their all-terrain video camera. Actually, a remote-controlled car mounted with a wireless infrared remote-controlled camera. The RoboCam also has a compass and thermometer attached to the back. The purpose is to remotely record an area without the interruption of human presence. Vince Wilson devised the contraption to use in areas that might be too dangerous to put human investigators into, such as older buildings with loose floorboards or dry rot. But the remote camera also refutes criticism that images were manipulated by the humans using it.
Constellation is a 22-gun sloop of war built in 1854. The ship was built to replace the original Constellation, a 38-gun frigate actually built here in Baltimore in 1797. In 1955, the ship was brought here to Baltimore, where it has been a museum ship ever since. Between 1996 and 1999, the ship underwent a massive structural restoration, which essentially saved it sinking into the harbor. Since that time, the USS Constellation Museum has been working hard to restore the ship to the pristine condition that it is in today.
The ship had not only older crew members or adults, but young crew members, and they were their nicknames. They were nicknamed Powder Monkeys. They were age 11 to 17. Their official ranking was ship's boys, and their main duty when the ship was in action was to carry powder to the gun crews, carry the powder cartridges to the gun crews. When they weren't doing that, they had all sorts of other tasks, keeping the ship clean and ship shape. They probably would act as stewards for the officers. Many tasks, and the ship was also their school.
One of these young powder monkeys suffered a horrible fate aboard the Constellation. 2 drunken sailors pursued him through the lower deck area. When he was not willing to part with his meager funds, they slashed him repeatedly and left the poor young lad to bleed to death. Since then, many have reported seeing a young man with a slashed face below deck on the Constellation. After the break, the oldest documented ghost sighting on the Constellation.